Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to add another head-scratching call to the list for the NBA referees this season. With time ticking down on the clock of the quarterfinals of the first ever NBA in-season tournament, the Suns trailing by 2 points, the Lakers inbound, Austin Reeves loses the ball, and somehow the Lakers are grounded a timeout without even possessing the ball. And the NBA has the nerve to go on the 2-minute report and say that it was a correct call. And for all those saying that Austin Reeves was fouled in the first place, it actually says in the 2-minute report that he wasn't. But with this happening the other night and the video that I made the other week, it really got me thinking about what are the top 5 worst calls in sports history. And in my research, trust me, there are a lot more than 5, so if you guys like this video, we can make it a series, but here's the top ones that I have so far. So strap in for some cringe, some heartbreak, and everything in between. And some of these calls were just so bad that it caused some fundamental changes to the sport. But coming in at number 5, the Duke vs Miami lateral. October 31st, 2015, Duke is leading by 3 points with about 6 seconds left on the clock and kicking off to Miami. And everyone knows what's coming, it's about to be a rugby style finish, but no one saw this. And to me, what's specifically egregious about this play is that you have a referee right there, best view in the house to make the call, and they still mess it up. And on top of that, they threw a flag for a correct block in the back and somehow managed to overturn it in the replay. And how is it that 7 years later, I'm able to pull it up on YouTube, watch it for a few seconds, pause it at the right moment, and see the knee down with the ball in his hand? Somehow the officials weren't able to see that the night of. I mean, this one is just insanely bad. I mean, luckily it didn't have any true effects on the ACC standings at the end of the year, and that's why I put it in as number 5, because some of these calls really affected the players, the teams for a lifetime. That brings us to number 4 on the list, the Thanksgiving Day coin flip between the Steelers and the Lions. So it's 1998, Thanksgiving Day, Steelers-Lions, a really hard-fought game throughout. And actually, before we get to the coin toss, there was another blown call earlier in the game. The Lions actually got a clear interception earlier in the game that was reversed on the field somehow. I'm pretty sure replay wasn't a thing or wasn't enforced these days, but it really should have been. Anyways, a last-second field goal would send us to overtime, and this is where all hell breaks loose.
Heads is the call.
I wish he said tails. He did. Jerome Bettis said tails. Oh my. No, well, we'll find out. Let's.
And if I'm being honest with myself, I don't 100% blame the referee for this. Jerome Bettis does kind of say like heads, tails, or head tails. Kind of reminds me of trying to pull off the old TF on a true and false question in school. I mean, what if it would have been heads? He would have had an argument either way. But back in these days in the NFL, the coin toss was actually a really big deal during the sudden death rules of overtime. I mean, the Lions would take possession of the ball, march down the field, kick a field goal, game over. And little known fact about this game, it would actually be Barry Sanders' last win in the NFL. And we're sticking with football for number 3 with the infamous Fail Mary. September 24th, 2012, Monday Night Football. The rookie at the time, Russell Wilson, throws up a prayer into the end zone with time expiring. And Golden Tate and MD Jennings both kind of come down with the ball, but to most people that are watching live, even the announcers of the game, consider Jennings to have possession of the ball.
How does MD Jennings not get credit for the interception? I have no idea.
It kind of more looked like Golden Tate was reaching around Jennings to somehow get some hand on the ball, and the officials would run over to the play and give us this infamous graphic. And there is some important context in this game. This was during an NFL referee strike, so the officials on the field right now were actually replacements for NFL referees. I don't know whether they got them from college or maybe even high school, but they ended up ruling a touchdown for the Seattle Seahawks, and the rest is history. Needless to say, 2 days after the game, the NFL came to an agreement with the referees and they were back in a job the next week. And you know, the referees were sitting at home watching from the couch just knowing, yep, we're about to get paid, which actually brought in a lot of conspiracies online I'm finding, but maybe that could be for another video. Moving on to number 2, we have the Tuck Rule game, 2021 AFC divisional game between the Patriots and the Raiders. It would be a young Tom Brady on his way to winning his first of 7 Super Bowls. But the question is, should he have made it there? Because Charles Woodson would say otherwise. You know, it was a frigid night in New England, blanket of snow across the field, players sliding all over the place. A minute 50 left in the game. Oakland was leading leading 13-10 and the Patriots were driving. Brady drops back, is hit by Woodson, which is originally ruled a fumble on the field. And what it looks like in the replay is Brady pump fakes, tries to bring the ball back to his body, and in that split second, Woodson knocks it out of his hand for a fumble. It was ruled an incomplete pass at the time. The rules were a little bit different. It's called the tuck rule, I guess, that if the quarterback is going forward at all with his hand and loses control, it's ruled an incomplete pass. But it's pretty obvious that he was pump faking. He did not have an intention to throw the ball in that moment.
Fumble, or in this case, tuck rule.
It should have been a fumble. Needless to say, it was ruled incomplete. The Patriots attempt a field goal, and Adam Vinatieri hits one of the most impressive 45-yard field goals I've seen, given the conditions at the time, which would force overtime. New England would take possession, kick another chip field goal, and win the game. And thus Tom Brady and the Patriots dynasty had begun. And it's really funny because the conclusion of the game led to two completely different trajectories for both franchises. And coming in at number 1 on the list, the Armando Galarraga Imperfect Game. Now, 24 perfect games have been officially recorded in the history of professional baseball, and really Armando Galarraga should be a part of that list. Watching the video, clearly Miguel Cabrera makes a great backhanded grab, throws it to Galarraga to get an out at first base. Game over, history made. Umpire Jim Joyce remarkably calls the runner safe, and you could just see the joy switch to disbelief in Armando's face. It was a call that erased history just like that. And the following day, Jim Joyce would take the field in tears, clearly torn up about what had happened the day before. And Armando Galarraga would graciously take the lineup out to Jim Joyce. They would exchange some words, and clearly it had been put in the past. And the play really puts it into perspective that both sides have human emotion involved. Although officially Armando Galarraga will never get his name on the list of perfect games, some might argue that he etched his name on a list even more exclusive that day. The list of 28 out perfect games. Thank you guys for watching the video. Let me know if you want to see a part 2 in the future. Let me know in the comments if there's any other plays that you guys can think of. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.